From former mobsters opening up their own pizza joints, to an actor who played a fake mobster who shook down a pizza joint and faced 20 years in prison.
Hey, I know him. I hate that guy.
These 6 mafiosos have not only gotten their hands dirty for the family, but have also chopped their fair share of pepperonis. Now, while I may love hot pepperonis melting in my salivating mouth, these mob stories always find a way to tickle my fancy that no pizza slice has ever done. Starting with a lighthearted pizza tell with a well-known Mr. Michael Franzese, whose story I won't dive too deep into as you can listen to him tell it on his YouTube channel, and after many years behind bars for defrauding the government, would become the co-owner of the Slices USA pizza franchise.
There's a new place in Dallas with a pizza you can't refuse.
I'm from New York. I know the best pizza in the world.
As owner of Slices Pizza, this is the dough he's slinging now, and a new franchise just opened in Uptown.
I guarantee it's the best pizza on the planet that you're going to enjoy.
Before opening their first Slices USA spot in San Francisco, California, co-founder Tony Riviera was a former Colombo associate who quit working for the family in 1989 and built a career in Seattle and other places on the West Coast as a renowned restaurateur, according to Forbes. Tony Riviera would team up with former mobster turned motivational speaker Michael Franzese, and according to their website, their story goes that it wasn't random that we decided to create Slices. We set out to make the very best pizza in America and took over 2 years and hundreds of recipes until we came up with what we believe can compete on any world-class stage. Having opened several locations throughout the West Coast, Slices USA seems to be doing just fine, although having many mixed reviews. While their original store in San Francisco seems to have been permanently closed, the restaurant rates a 3.8 at its Burbank location, a 4.4 at its Los Angeles location, and a 3.6 in its Seattle location.
Okay, look at them. They look delicious. And as you notice, they're shrink wrapped. And the reason for that is because we're going to be shipping this all over the country. Okay, and you can put this in your refrigerator, you can put it in your freezer, pop it out, put it in the oven at 400 degrees for a couple of minutes, and I guarantee it's going to taste as good as if it just came out of our oven.
While Francese's connection to pizza has a happy ending, the next mobster would get caught cooking up some pizzas after being on the run for 16 years.
This story is something out of a movie. A reputed Italian mob boss on the run was hiding in plain sight as a pizza chef.
News stations in February of 2023 plastered Edgardo Greco's face as he would be caught working as a pizza chef in France. According to the New York Times, Edgardo Greco was a lesser-known mobster linked to the Calabrian 'Ndrangheta crime syndicate, which is also considered as one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the world based out of Italy. NBC News would state that Greco was convicted of killing 2 people in the early 1990s. Italian police said in a statement that the pair were beaten to death with a metal bar in a fish shop in Calabria. Their bodies were made to disappear and never found again, police said. He'd flee to France after a warrant for his arrest was issued in 2006, and was also issued a European arrest warrant in 2014, where investigators would find one article that featured Greco posing as a chef, and in 2021 would find a newspaper article where the title read, "Paolo Demetrio opens the Italian restaurant of his dreams." On Point Cadet Street, Paolo Demetrio has just opened Caffè Rossini Ristorante to introduce you all to the flavors of his country's gastronomy. On the menu, top-of-the-range fresh and homemade products, pasta, desserts, and even bread. Police would almost instantly recognize Greco, and it would ultimately be the newspaper article that prompted Interpol to use Google Maps to track down the fugitive, where he would be caught almost 2 years later in 2023, working the night shift at the La Agora restaurant where he had been hired on as a pizza chef. At first he insisted on his alias, Colonel Pini said of the arrest, but once the fugitive saw that Italian investigators had traveled from Cosenza for the operation, he realized it no longer made sense to continue lying, and he said, "Yes, it's me," Colonel Pini added. The final outcome of Edgardo Greco would be met with life behind bars, with the next person on this list also getting caught for being in the public eye.
An Italian mobster hiding out in the Caribbean has been tracked down thanks to cooking videos that he posted on YouTube and his distinctive tattoos.
Marc, Feren, Claude, Biart was also a member of the Drangheta crime group, and in 2014, while in the Netherlands, was charged with cocaine trafficking. He would flee to the Dominican Republic after learning of his charges, where he led a quiet life in Boca Chica, and would be caught by detectives who spotted him in a YouTube channel where he showed off his Italian cooking skills with his wife. While the cooking videos never showed his face, detectives recognized his distinctive body tattoos, which would instantly give him away. From his hiding place in Boca Chica, Biart and his wife had created a YouTube channel focused on Italian recipe videos, which often featured a mysterious chef with his face hidden. The love for Italian cuisine has made it possible to follow the traces left on the web and on social networks, police said in a statement. He fled in 2014 after the court of Reggio Calabria ordered he be put into custody. Biart was hiding in Boca Chica, in a tourist resort with an Italian community where he had been living for the past 5 years, going by the name Marc. Now, I'm unsure if the cooking videos had anything pizza related, since his tutorials seem to have been pulled from the internet by Interpol, but it's safe to say that it's quite a possibility. While the previous mafiosos mentioned in this video definitely have street cred, the last few quote-unquote mobsters faced 20 years for shaking down a Brooklyn pizzeria. Douglas singer Marianne Wood and character actor Leeroy Wilson, who had small roles in movies like The Other Guys down to Creed.
He's all right now. Well, we had to separate him. He was fighting with the other inmates.
I don't know anybody get hurt.
Nah, nothing life-threatening.
Thank you, man.
No problem, champ.
Faced 20 years for a crime they cooked up that involved extorting a pizzeria. According to the United States of America against Douglas singer and Marianne Wood, November 2nd through November 16, 2018, both dates being approximate and inclusive, within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere, the defendants Douglas singer and Marianne Wood, together with others, did knowingly and intentionally conspire to obstruct, delay, and affect commerce, and the movement of articles and commodities in commerce by extortion from an individual with his consent, which consent was to be induced by wrongful use of threatened force, violence, and fear. Douglas singer and Marianne Wood hired Leeroy Wilson to play the part of an intimidating mobster, with a Facebook message sent by Singer to Wilson talking about what type of clothes he should wear, where eventually Leeroy would even holster a prop gun which the victim would notice during their meeting. Hey Roy, I was wondering if you might be interested in a kind of acting gig. I need a couple of guys to escort my associate while she delivers a demand to my landlord. It will be a pizzeria in Brooklyn. You would simply have to stand in the background and appear to be muscle. You would have to wear a suit/sunglasses. I would pay you $50 per hour, including 2 hours of drive time with a minimum of $250. The Chicago Tribune would state that Singer bought the pizzeria from the building's owner in early 2018, agreeing to pay $60,000 for the restaurant, a $15,600 security deposit, and a monthly rent of $5,200, officials said. The business was running as usual until November 2018, when Marianne Wood was joined by Douglas Singer and their menacing actor pal Leeroy Wilson for their meeting with the building owner, authorities charged. Wood identified herself as Singer's business partner and produced photos of the owner's wife and kids along with the demand for the $198,000 cash shakedown on behalf of an unidentified organization. The building owner instead called the NYPD, with authorities wiring him before a second meeting with the suspects. And what happened next? On December 14, 2018, the FBI would search the home of Leeroy Wilson, where they would find a black leather jacket that matched to surveillance footage taken on the day of one of their extortion attempts, along with a prop gun. They would ultimately plead guilty to extortion conspiracy and face up to 20 years in prison, and according to Matthew Russell Lee of the Inner City Press, Marianne Wood would be sentenced on February 11, 2022, where she shed tears as she faced 20 years in prison, but received probation instead, along with some good advice from the judge. Not much can be found on the fate of Douglas Singer or Leeroy Wilson, but one can assume they received a slap on the wrist as well, with Leeroy Wilson posting a headshot to Facebook only a few hours ago in late October of 2023.